Welcome to the first of currently 3 scheduled monthly Zoom calls on the second Thursday of each month. This was kind of an inspiration that emerged from the retreat that we had 2 weeks ago now, was it? Something I can't remember when it was now, 2 weeks ago. To kind of create a little bit of continuity, but also provide the opportunity for anybody else who wanted to join us. What I wanted for these was really to be opportunity for you to ask your questions. So if anybody has got anything burning, then really it'll help contribute to the whole session rather than just hearing me talking the other time. We can have a little bit of exchange and exploration. But perhaps just to get everybody into the zone, as it were, let's just have a meditation to kick off with. And it'd be good if you could just leave your cameras on so I can see who's here and who's not. And just simply close your eyes. And just simply and silently accepting everything that's here now, without any judgment. Just let it all be here now. And as you rest with your eyes closed, accepting all that's here, just like you're watching a movie from the inside. And now, asking the question inside. Who am I? Who am I? Just be with that. Who am I? And now, we'll take that a bit further. Asking the question inside. Who am I without memory. Who am I without memory? And just be with that. Who am I without memory? And now asking inside, who am I without knowledge? Who am I without knowledge? And as you rest in that space, melting like a sliver of ice in an ocean of water, dissolving, becoming one with the water. And the water is an ocean of infinite silence. in silence. You will realize truth. In truth, you will realize you are silence, infinite silence. Infinite awareness. Eternally. This. Nothing you have to do to be this. This rarefied atmosphere of silence. Transforms, transmutes all that you are not. Be still and know this. Good. In a moment, I'll ring the Tingsha bells. And in the moment that's right for you, just gently opening your eyes. Good. So welcome. Once again, a couple more people joined us, just literally moments after we started, so welcome to you as well. So as I say, this is an opportunity for you to ask questions and for us to have some interaction, which I can't really do so well on Insight Timer. So if anybody's got a burning question or anything they want to share from the meditation, Jolene is going to moderate and Ben's the backup. So if anybody would like to do that, you can put your hand up using, I think, is it the reactions or yeah, the reactions button. So does anybody want to ask or share anything from that meditation? Complete silence.
We've got a hand up from Nicole.
Okay, Nicole.
If you'd like to unmute yourself, Nicole.
Yeah.
It is hard to say anything after that. It's just so nice. But the thing that came up during the meditation is just that pain body releasing a bit more. There's been something really in my right lower rib, kind of like a twisted, not really deep within, and really like it's funny now. I recognize when people try to be the fixer,
Yeah.
and or try to do something about it. But I've just been watching it with awareness, and during the meditation, it loosened up. Yeah, that's what I noticed during that.
Excellent. Is there anything else there, Nicole, for you, or?
I just think that the pain body's fascinating, and how and when it decides to let go.
Sure.
I don't really know what else to say besides that.
Okay.
I've been watching the pain body since 2018.
Yeah.
Just watching all of the pains and when they decide to go, it's just fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, the ego wants them to go now, but yeah, that doesn't work.
No, indeed, no. So yeah, so good. So thank you for sharing that. And that's the thing. The more that you relax into rest in silent awareness, the more there's a natural relaxation function that will take place in the body. But also, as many of us discovered, the kind of unresolved trauma in the emotional body or pain body, as Nicole referred to it there, will come up to be seen. And that can include physical pain as well as you experienced. And the key from it is that ultimately, in the end, if you can simply rest as that witnessing presence and trust that and only that, then the process becomes effortless, and it doesn't have to be as challenging, and there really is nothing that you have to do other than just simply, and this isn't a doing, but trust the silence, trust the awareness. And that life then, that was what life is, will identify, will know when the time is right for something to release. And you're not going to be faced with anything that you can't deal with in that moment, even if the identity self, the small identity I, the ego I, doesn't kind of grasp that. It's the trust that becomes the knowing. and then the process will just naturally flower and naturally unfold. So hopefully that's okay for you, Nicole. She's nodding away there, so that's good.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I can see Lee's. Is Lee next?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you want to unmute.
Hi,
Hi, Lee.
similar to Nicole, I've had a lot of there's been quite a few releases the last few days, and I'm very aware of quite intense sensations in my rib cage. I think for me, I wanted to ask sometimes. So, I've got to know my body really well, and some days, most days, I lie down during the day and allow whatever's there to come up. Sometimes when it's really intense in my rib cage, because I also do Reiki, I put my hand on and sometimes use pressure. Is that okay, or would it be better if I was just doing it from the silence?
So there isn't anything. It's not so much wrong or right. This it's more about effectiveness. So Reiki, you mentioned the word Reiki there. That is a manifestation of the silence in itself. But it's not the silence. It's not the awareness, the infinite silence or the infinite awareness. The instant that you try to do stuff, you're tending to move away from awareness. So it's actually in the end, and you've obviously been engaged in this for a number of years now, Lee. So obviously you're much more compared to somebody who might have just joined a session recently. You're much more familiar with what I'm pointing at, with the silence and awareness. And actually, in the end, one of the keys to this whole process, and you experience it as a process of self-realization and the dissolution of the pain body, the emotional body, is actually dropping all our tools and techniques. It's not that the tools and techniques are wrong. They're actually really quite helpful depending on where you are on your journey. Stepping stones, you might have heard me use that phrase before. And there are many. Reiki's one, EFT is another. I used to do something called quantum touch. I've done, in fact, I've touched all of those that I've just mentioned in the past, a long time ago now. But what was clear as the process was unfolding was to leave all that behind. So in the end, it's only awareness. It's only the silence, which I'm equating as one and the same thing, the infinite silence, the infinite awareness, one and the same. This and this alone is what's going to bring about the dissolution of the issues, the pain body, and the realization itself. The kind of only slight ride I'd have to that, and I wouldn't, it's not really a ride, is if you get some intuitive hit or clear calling from inside as part of the process to place your hand here, then I would do that. But generally speaking, I would just let the silent awareness get on with it and not try and let mind get involved in the process, just simply remain as the witness. Does that help, or does that answer your question?
Yeah, very much.
But the risk when you start to try to sort of go with mind that, oh, I need to do this, I've learned this technique and all the rest of it, what you're doing is the instant that happens, you're taking a step away from awareness and back into process. So it may be that there's a call from inside, then that I would follow. But otherwise, especially if you've been engaged in this as long as you have, then I would go only with the silent awareness, because it's infinitely more powerful, and it knows, it can see the whole picture, whereas the mind can see, oh, I've got a pain in my rib cage. But the silent awareness can see why there's that pain there, why it's there, what it's doing, and the whole shooting match, so to speak. So this is the way, ultimately.
Okay.
It's not that the other stuff's wrong, it's just that it's more powerful, more effective, the more you trust the awareness. Is that okay for you, Lee?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, good. I think, is it Andrea I can see.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi there. I found the questions in the meditation really interesting tonight. I've not really been challenged by them for such a long time.
Yeah.
The first question was, I got over that very quickly.
Yeah.
I went through, okay, I'm many beings, I am all that. And then I got to the nothing and the I am. When it came to knowledge, it blew me. I just, and my brain just went into absolute random. What am I without knowledge? And I just lost it tonight. I just couldn't hold. So there's something about the knowledge side that was really niggling at me. And I don't know what it is.
Okay, so let me offer some insight around that. I deliberately, when I was lying in the bath, I had a quick bath before. I thought, I'll have a bath before the thing tonight. And I thought, this is what I need to focus on tonight, was what came. And I knew that the who am I without knowledge needed to be included. And the reason that's important, and the reason that kind of like the identity had a bit of a fit, or whatever the words you were to describe it, with that, is because essentially we identify, it's one of the identities that we have is to do with knowledge. And the reason that identity is there, whether you're Albert Einstein or somebody who lives in the Amazon jungle or whatever, is that knowledge, the identity looks to knowledge, looks to learning, looks to skills, looks to technique, looks to tools to keep itself safe.
Okay.
And so basically it perceives that the more knowledge it has, the more control that it has. And therefore it can control its version of the world and how it interacts with the world and others in the world by virtue of its knowledge. And suddenly we're being asked or invited in the meditation to step beyond or before knowledge. And what eventually you come to see, I don't know if anybody had this on the call, but I've done this many times on Insight Timer, on YouTube and so forth. When you get past that noise stage, what happens is that people get senses of release, relief. They might even get fear come up because there's a fear of letting go of the knowledge. But once they get past that, they start to open up into a vast space of awareness. And that's why opening to without knowledge or before knowledge, as we move beyond or before or without knowledge, what we're doing is basically emptying out the stuff we're carrying inside of us as to who we believe we ourselves to be. And into that space, as that opening takes place, is the wisdom of the universe will just pour in and open up to us. And wisdom is different from knowledge. Knowledge, no matter how much knowledge one might have, one might be the most knowledgeable person on the planet, but that is nothing compared to the wisdom of the infinite silence or the infinite awareness. And it's that we're looking to open to here. So the entity will cling on literally by its fingernails to identity. And one of the ways it does that is through its identification with knowledge. Does that help you, Andrea?
It does, yeah, really does.
So the key for you there now, having had the identity kind of go, whatever the word was, kind of, have a bit of a fit with it or struggle with it. It shows you now that the identity is wanting to hang on to that knowledge. So that's an invitation in itself to go, oh, didn't realize I was hanging on to that. And now is the invitation to open up to that which is before and beyond knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
It does, yes.
Yeah. So it's not that all the practical things that you'll ever learn will go, but what it needs to happen is the identification with it, the attachment to it, and the belief that somehow you're identified by that knowledge. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else for you, Andrea?
No, that was it. Thank you.
But I'm really glad, I know it can be a bit difficult, but I'm really glad that you shared that, because it's a classic demonstration of why that question gets included in that meditation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anybody else?
We've got Ruth with a hand up.
Okay, Ruth. I can't see Ruth. Oh, there's Ruth. Hi, Ruth.
I tried like 3 times to turn my camera on, and finally the 3rd time was the charm. I apologize. Yeah, I wanted to kind of second that same experience with the knowledge question.
Right.
It felt like I hit a fear barrier there. And because I tried to do, I guess, visualize, this entity here without knowledge. And it was just kind of like, wait, what? There was a definite resistance to it. So it was helpful when you said that, when a person can get beyond kind of that fear barrier, that the wisdom you said of the universe, which is really beautiful.
Yeah.
But as you were saying that, I thought how beautiful it was and how nice that sounded. And then I realized, well, shoot, I think that's the ego kind of really latching onto that as well. So, wow, it still feels a little bit, I guess, maybe like I'm chasing my tail on that one.
Okay, so key here now is that, so there was a similar kind of experience there to Andrea. Let's just take that a little bit further, because you got fear with it. And that's, if you like, another manifestation of, oh my gosh, what will happen if I let go of this knowledge, or the identification with it, or the attachment to it, or most fundamentally, the belief that I am this knowledgeable being. Now, the fact when that fear comes up, that's another stage of the invitation to let go. So the fear appears in front of or within the space of awareness. And actually, rather than going, oh, kind of like freezing or flighting or running away from that fear, the key at that point is to go, oh, how interesting, kind of from inside. Fear is here. And witness that fear, watch that fear with a kind of inner smile, trusting only the space of awareness. And you'll find effortlessly that fear will simply dissolve. Just like when I was doing the meditation, I'll just do it quickly one more time here now. So this is, if we imagine this is a wave of fear, this sound. So what happened there was 1 minute there was no ringing. Suddenly there was a big peak of fear, a wave of fear arose, maybe even a tsunami. And without any further input, it fell away. And that's basically how the infinite awareness, the infinite silence will work. The phenomena, fear in this case, is seen, it's felt physically in the body, but the trust is placed totally in the awareness. And so without trying to identify with it, run away from it, freezing it or whatever, just literally watching with this inner knowing, the infinite silence itself will transmute and transform it. And that, just like any sound or any vibration, without any further input from identity, it has to return to silence. It has to return to awareness. And yes, it's true, picking up what you said further there, Ruth, was that the identity might want to try and latch onto, oh, I can be as not have the wisdom of the universe. It's good that you recognize that, because it's not a personal thing, but the identity will try and make it personal. Will try to make it personal, and it's not. So these are further steps down the road of dissolving that identification, that attachment, that belief. Does that help you, Ruth Ann?
Yeah, it does. I mean, just seeing that, it really makes me want to just laugh for a kind of a long time. But I think you're pointing about watching it and watching it come in and kind of show up and then peak and then just fade, and there's really nothing for there doesn't need to be a doer in the picture, just an observer.
Exactly that. No doer.
Yeah.
No doer.
Yeah, that's helpful.
And that goes back
to stop right there and stop projecting beyond that and everything. Yeah.
Excellent. And that actually goes back to your question, Lee. No doer. No doer. The less there is of the doer, the more the silent awareness, the more effective. You know, you're not trying to get in the way of it. You're not trying to put a step into the process that doesn't need to be there. So that's another take on that, another bit of insight on that. Is that okay for you, Ruth Ann? Perfect.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything burning there? Okay, well, whilst we just sit waiting and see if there's anything else, I'll just take that a little bit further. So that's a great question to ask from the inside in meditation anyway, as you've discovered. Because basically, where the point that we're getting to on that journey, for those of you in the UK, you'll understand this joke. I'll explain it for the overseas people. But there's used to be a television series on here in the UK called Faulty Towers, and there was this guy who was a Spanish waiter who spoke pidgin English, and he was always put up to saying, "I know nothing," and it used to always get lots of laughs. You kind of had to see the series to understand why that was the case. He was called Manuel, and I sometimes use it just lightheartedly here, because this is the point of that question, is to open to the truth that actually, as an identity self, the ego mind self, which isn't that which you truly are, actually knows nothing about that which life truly is, which is the infinite silence, the infinite awareness, the infinite consciousness. And so the purpose of the question, another way I sometimes frame it, is what if I know nothing? You can close your eyes now, just for a moment, just do that. And asking the question inside. What if I know nothing? What if I know nothing? Good. So when the moment's right for you, just again gently opening your eyes. So I can see Stefan's got his hand up. Shall we go to Stefan?
Yes, I would just like to comment this. I noticed when you ask these questions, what if I have no knowledge and what if I know nothing? It's not so scary anymore. And I think it's because when I know nothing, I just put my trust in the silence that I'm taken care of. I don't need anything, I trust. And so it's not really not spooky anymore, it's just different.
Great. And I remember you shared on one of the previous streams that initially you got a fear when that first came up, and now you've kind of going past that stage. And what you're saying there, then trusting in that silent awareness, it's actually a space you'll just kind of relax into, just kind of fall into. And it's actually the identity self, picking up on further what you're saying, has an idea of a view of the world, and it's essentially, by virtue of its beliefs, attachment, identification, it's trying to keep itself safe. But this is a false sense of safety, whereas the ultimate safety, or beyond even the concept of safety, is the silent awareness itself. And as Stefan was saying, one is then completely taken care of by the universe, because this body-mind experience that you have is an expression of it, and ultimately will return to it. And the more trust that's placed in that, the easier the transition, the easier the process is going to be. And then this fear doesn't need to go. Trust that Stefan was pointing at there then becomes a knowing, and it becomes the experiential realization. So this is a little bit further down the road than where Ruth Ann and Andrea were talking about. And so we allow that part of the identity to dissolve, and it becomes a much more. I remember doing this on one of the Insight Timer live streams, and it kind of stood out for me at the time, partly because of where the person who was on that stream came from. She had come across my sharing I did some seminars for the Scientific and Medical Network. And so obviously, as you'd imagine, with the Scientific and Medical Network, there were a lot of people there who had lots of knowledge, scientific knowledge, medical knowledge. And when I did that exercise, she felt a deep sense of relief, because you can imagine, as a scientist or a medic, trying to learn more and more about the functioning of the universe or the functioning of the body was somehow going to make you feel safer, more secure, have more understanding. And she felt this deep sense of relief at the idea or the invitation to letting go of knowledge. Is there anything else for you there, Stefan? You're okay, you're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you.
You're all moving around, like it's kind of like, I don't want to what they're just moving around on the screen. There's 1 minute you're there, next minute you're there. Anyway, Lee, I think, has got a hand up again.
Yeah, just a quick one. Yeah, when you do that question, I always feel a real relief. It's like heaven. I think that's because I have so many thoughts. So having no knowledge to me is just heaven.
Absolutely. Because knowledge can become a burden that you carry around with you. And actually, if you were prepared to let go of that and not hold on tightly to knowledge, then the actual knowledge itself isn't going to disappear. But actually, what you're going to find yourself is more open to this universal wisdom. And actually, there'll be greater clarity on many things in life. Even quite what we might call mundane practicalities. All of these things will become simpler, clearer, by virtue of just being open and trusting to the silent awareness within. So this relaxation, this kind of relief that you felt there, the more that that's there, then if there's something new that you're learning or something else that's occurring in your life, actually coming at life from this space will make the process simpler, easier, clearer. You'll learn quicker, you'll be more creative, you'll be able to communicate more clearly. All these kinds of things come with that. Does that help you, Lee? Yeah. So the thing that about self-realization that is kind of bizarre as far as the identity self is concerned, you're taught, so you go to school when you're a child and you learn maths and English and geography and all these things, and you might learn your times tables and all this kind of stuff, and that's okay to a point. But when it comes to self-realization, the surprising thing as far as the identity self is concerned is that there's actually nothing to learn. There's nothing to learn about ultimate truth. So although people in the position that I'm in here are often called spiritual teachers, it's not a term that I particularly like to use. And the reason for that is because I've been shared this for many years now. It's crystal clear that I'm not teaching anybody anything. When people have an aha moment, a deep seeing, a moment of clarity, a big shift in consciousness, a big emotional release, it's because all of that in the end is emerging up from the inside. It's not that you've suddenly learned that 9 times 9 is 81. Actually, you realized that that is true. And the same is true of ultimate spiritual truth. It's a realization that it arises. One is already this inside. It's just been forgotten. Just been forgotten. And this is why it's referred to as self-realization. That word realization. Oh my gosh, I just realized. In the same way you have an aha moment, a moment of clarity about something relatively minor in life, that this is a realization. One is the infinite silence. This one is the infinite essence, the infinite universe. And that contains all of the wisdom of the universe. So it's not learning, it's realizing. It's not learning. It may feel like, as one's going along the journey, that, oh, you know, I've learnt this from Philip or whatever. But in truth, that's not really the case. It was already known. It was just realized. So I know nothing, once again, opens us up to that space, to that essence. There is nothing to learn. And also, it's true, there is nothing that you have to do. And that leads us to meditation, because we've done a meditation together tonight. Meditation, I'll often say, begins as a practice. We practice meditation, but it ends as a realization. So that we go, in other words, we transcend a meditation practice and we become a living meditation. We are the infinite silence, the infinite awareness. And that's what meditation is. All the other things, like the kind of guidance I include, and things like visualization, are only stepping stones to what meditation is, which is effortless awareness, effortless silence. And there isn't anything to learn about it. So this also goes back to what I was saying to Lee earlier. The tools, techniques, steps, strategies, and so forth. Ultimately, you'll be invited to leave all those behind. And the identity might struggle with that a bit, as a few of you've sort of seen tonight. But the more open that you are to that, the more that you are prepared to, shall we say, to dive into the void, the more that you will realize that you are the infinite awareness, the infinite silence, the infinite essence. So this being willing, being open to let go of knowledge is a key part of the process. Making sense to everybody? Yeah. Anybody else got a question? Oh, I can see Nicole has.
Okay, so the stages of it has felt like stages, but it's like you said, it's not truly stages, but going into that kind of dark night of the soul, or just like tuning inward all the way, I guess, is what you might say. And now I feel like I'm in the integration part of this, going out, and being that presence for people, and knowing who they actually are underneath the thoughts, opinions, beliefs, and everything. I just want to say thank you to universe, because now I had what would have been a very difficult conversation with my boss in a meeting this morning, and I was so present, so aware of who he really is, that I think he just felt so loved and, just had that space to just say what he needed to say. And like in 2020, I wouldn't have been able to do that, hold that space for him. I would have been triggered. And I was not. And I just am starting to see how beautiful this is. And yeah.
That's wonderful. So that's a clearly practical example of exactly what I'm pointing at. Because somebody, sometimes people ask me, what do I see? Well, obviously I can see your form. I can see the overlay of the identity and the ego. That's all there clearly to be seen. But the focus, which is really where you're pointing at, Nicole, is on actually, yes, all of that is there, but that's not who they are. And when you rest in that space, then there's no kind of barrier or conflict between you and the perceived other, which gives them an opportunity to meet you there. Interestingly, it can, for some, it's worth pointing this out, can be scary for some. So they can run a million miles from this. But fortunately, there's obviously enough of a connection, a relationship there with your boss for him to sort of, for you not to be triggered and for you to have a meaningful conversation within the context of the work environment. How good is that? Yeah. Wonderful, thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to add there, Nicole? Or?
Just that there were 6 of us in this same group and we all were holding this awareness at once. I felt like, wow, it's like taking this right here into the real world, like into a real estate company. Like, what? I just think it's amazing.
It is. And that's what can happen as you open more fully. So that's great. I'm delighted. Because this isn't just something that, go and live in an ashram for 12 years and become, a self-realized being. Actually, that would be impossible for 8 billion people on the planet. So the fact that we can take it into everyday life is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else for anybody else emerging?
Yeah, just want to say thanks for that pointing to that silence. Really, really appreciate it. My orientation is there's experience of the body, and then there's a aware. So the body's kind of in the middle, but my awareness is around that. Is that kind of?
Well, it's more like the awareness that your body is an appearance within the space of awareness or in front of awareness.
Mm.
Yeah. So the body is like a car. You might have a car, but you're not your car.
Mm.
Or if you were driving your car and the windscreen wipers are going, that's your emotions, that's all the phenomena. But you're still able to just look through and beyond that and drive safely like that.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
So the body and all phenomena, just like when you're driving the car and the windscreen wipers are going, you don't focus. If you were to focus on the windscreen wipers, you'd be doing this, wouldn't you? And you wouldn't be driving the car very safely. Your windscreen wipers just keep on going back and forth, and you're still looking at the road ahead. Like that.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the phenomena.
You're a bit more see-through. Your body's a bit more see-through than.
Yeah. So you're not gonna give much credence to the fact. Okay, the windscreen wipers are moving, but you know that it's important to focus on the road ahead. Yeah, like that.
except that your road ahead's kind of backward in type thing, or
It's what? Sorry.
is that the except that the road ahead is kind of the road in type thing as
Yeah,
opposed
except
to
it's not in within. In is not a direction. It's not a direction. So although I might point, I'm not. It's not really a direction. Everything appears in front of or within awareness. So don't try and put a direction on it. It's infinite and looks in all directions at once.
that everything is in front of.
In front of or within, either or both.
Or within awareness.
Yeah. Everything appears in front of or within awareness. Every phenomena.
Okay, excellent.
So if you're the reason I use the windscreen wiper example, it's quite a good one because the phenomena is doing this all the time, and that's your emotions, that's your bodily sensations, that's all the functions in life, and yet you're able to just focus on the road ahead rather than doing what the mind identity does. Is does this. It's off in all directions at once. Awareness just simply watches.
Okay, yeah. So I'm identifying as the awareness rather than the.
Yeah, rather than the windscreen wiper.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Good. So that's us. It's coming up to 9:15. Where I can't remember the date of the next one in March, but anyway, it's the second Thursday at 8 p.m. UK time. I think everybody here is booked for all of the 3 sessions. And if there's interest, I'll continue beyond that. So we've got March and April to look forward to as well. So when the recording's available, I'll let you know. We'll pop it on YouTube. But other than that, thank you for joining us from wherever you are in the world, whether it's be West Coast or Northern USA or Sweden or in the land down under or here in the UK. Thank you very much, everybody. Namaste.